Right, as promised, I know I did a bit of a quick review on the Squidmar Mark 1 brushes and stated I was going to do a bit of a trial with them to do a bit of painting, see how they actually work and see if they're actually any good. Okay, I have been hearing mixed reviews, but I'll leave that until I actually use them. I still kind of like the look and the feel of them. So what we're actually going to do is I have some of the Barnes War range. Okay. And these are going to be the Spearmen. Anybody that doesn't know about Barnes War from Future Miniatures, shame on you. What I'll do is I'll stick a link down in the comment section to that actual page. Okay, I'm actually waiting for the second Kickstarter from this particular range to arrive on the doorstep. So what I'm actually trying to do is actually finish the ones from the first one. So yeah, what we'll actually do is get the brushes out. There's a wee bit of a problem with focus at the moment there. So I'll get the brushes out, you see what ones I'm going to use, pick my colour palette, and what we'll actually do is we'll basically just paint this particular fella. That's just some more of the figures from the actual range. Okay, there's quite a few different poses, quite a large amount of detail in them. I quite like them, I love them. So yeah, they are all spearmen. The spears actually come separately. For those that actually don't know, they're actually quite cool. Let's see if I can actually get this to focus properly. They actually have the heads of the spears flattened like that, which is actually quite cool. Do have to drill the holes through the hands and stuff like that there, which can be a bit time consuming, but basically these are quite solid, you know, a wee bit of flexibility in them, but they don't bend like the old head ones. So what I'll do is I'll paint that up separately and put that in. Okay, so yeah, what I'll do is I'll go pick my colour palette and see what colours I want to use and see what I'm going to use it to do with highlighting and what have you. And what I'll do is then start using these and see what they're like, and hopefully we'll get that sorted in the next couple of few minutes. Carrying on, finally decided just to do one figure rather than have a whole line of figures. Maybe this is focus, there we go. Namely just to see how the brushes, the Squidmar brushes will actually operate with one of the Barnes War figures. Pretty much just a generic poor peasant spearman, basically. No armour on. As we can see, spear will be done separately, of course, and then put back in. I actually have drilled the holes. That can be a bit time consuming because you're trying to sort of line them all up, but I got quite lucky. So initially what we're going to do is try and get a bit of colour on. What I'm going to be using, the first one I'm going to be using of the four, I'm not going to use the big large one for that. This is the medium. Let me get this focus. Okay, so we're going to try that one. And at least just try a couple of different ones just to try and get some base colours on. Maybe try one or two of the other ones there and see where we go from there. So I'll get a bit of clean water and a bit of paint. Fortunately, my wet palette has now gone the way of the dinosaur, so I have to make myself a new one. Let's get a bit of paint on the brush. As always, don't need a lot. I'm quite happy to do thin coats. I get this focus is not going to work too well. I'm trying to find a large area where we can see with the light as well, just to see how they actually operate. I'm usually a very messy painter, so I'm actually taking my time with this one for a change. Usually just splash paint on and hope for the best. Now, obviously, because the paint has been thinned, I may have gotten too thin with it, but I don't really mind that. I'll just go back over and give it another coat. So far, if we get it focus, I don't want to focus too much. Let's see if that helps. So yeah, keeping the point quite readily. Looks like the paint's a bit thick, so I need to get a bit more water into it. But keeping its shape. It's not bending out of the way. There's no split hairs. Okay. Why not a wee bit more? I need to work on my camera angles. So even where I can see the brush sort of looks like it's wanting to split, it's not actually splitting. This comes back into shape quite nicely. I'm just trying to thin the paints down a wee bit here. Still working on the most basic bits of camera that I've got here at the moment, so I have actually noticed that it's still going in and out of focus, so apologies for that. And I'm actually noticing, unless you turn it a certain way, you're not actually seeing the paint actually going on. And then back right there again. Okay. Paint's going on very, very smooth. Obviously, I'm not going to tell people how to paint. I haven't covered everything. I've left little gaps and stuff there. It's just to basically test the brushes out more than anything, rather than a painting tutorial. I'm just using the Barnes War figures because that's basically what I'm working on at the moment for myself. So, again, still working away. I had been working away with it there. A bit too much paint creep up the bristles. Again, guys, you probably all know how to look after your brushes. I'm not going to teach you how to suck eggs, guys and girls, if there's anybody watching. So yeah, the brush has held its shape quite well. So we'll clean that off. Hopefully by that time the paint will be dry, and we'll try one of the smaller brushes. So we will. See what happens if we put a bit of highlight on. I've just washed that in water quickly. I actually have to get a bit more of a better clean, but I'll do that after I finish the video. But as you can see, it's actually still in the shape. I know some people have been having complaints with it splitting quite quickly. Doesn't seem to be that. But then again, I've only just done a little bit of painting, so obviously I'll be able to report back if it does have a bit of issue. And I do, as I said in the first sort of review or unboxing of them, I really do like the grip of them. It's quite nice. So we'll find out what the cover is for that one. The bristles, so we don't rack it. Take that back. Make sure to clean out later. And of course put it in its little handy dandy box. So we're going to look at the next one that I have. And it says it's a small. Again, as you can see, came out like that, so that's what stays like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to do like, not really going to start mixing paints and stuff like that there. I'm just basically going to do like a straight on sort of coat the next colour. You know, because I think it'll stand out a bit better with the camera. I've got on. Ooh, stay in focus. So again, a little bit of paint on it, a little bit of water added to it. I'm not going too heavy with the brush. I'm not like sort of putting a lot of pressure on it. That's a bit better. It's a bit heavier looking now. He didn't know he watered that one. Naughty. That was a bit trying to brush in different ways, different angles. Let's see what happens with it. As I say, that's quite a heavy, quite extreme. As I say, I didn't mix any paints, I just splashed on a far lighter green just to see how the brush would hold up. Let's try a little bit more. This thing will thin the paint down a bit. Probably quite a bit. Yeah, it's a lot better. I'm hoping my notifications are not flashing up on the sound, and hopefully if they are, apologies. People are sending messages at the minute. Okay. Right, we're thinning the paint down. As you can see, it actually goes on a lot better. This is what happens when you don't thin the paint down. I made a mistake of that. I'll rush that one a wee bit. But as you can see, thin the paint down, goes on a lot better, a lot more subtle. Again, it's not mixed, so it's not blended properly. Before I just clean it off. Again, before cleaning, there's no splits, no loose hairs. Again, everything seems fine. Maybe a bit of a curl at the tip of it, but that's maybe just because of where I've been painting. I'll clean it off and see what it looks like. Let's have a look. No, it's gone perfectly back into shape. Obviously, again, we all know how to look after our brushes. I've just got these a quick wash in clean water. If you want to clean any deeper, you can. There's plenty of products out there that can do that for you. So, again, seems to have held up quite quickly, quite briefly up to it. As I say, again, if anything, as I'm using these a wee bit more, does go pear shape, I can let people know in the comments and stuff and show them sort of what happens. Now the last one we're going to use, I think at the minute, because there is only one other one. There's actually 4 in the basic set. So there is. Now this is their extra small. Okay. Again, same design, same feel to them. And again, I'll just pick another extreme colour as such. Again, ooh, maybe not that one. I just realised the colours just died on me. Thankfully, I have a bit of an old reserve, which still stays wet and liquid after all these years. So, again, a little bit on the brush, give it a bit of water. See how this goes on. Too much paint on there. I'm just seeing how fine of a line I can actually get. And I'm usually very heavy-handed, so get that focus in a bit. Oops. So yeah, even going with a bit of a big heavy hand, like I usually have, it's actually not too bad. So let's have a look. None the worse for wear, even for my big Shrek hands being used. So see what it looks like when it's been cleaned up. Yeah, doesn't seem to have lost a point, isn't sprayed or anything like that. Was a bit weird. I thought I actually got too much paint on the bristles, but thankfully I didn't get it the whole way up, so I managed to clean that off. I haven't ruined it. The only one left is, if I can get the right one, this one is known as their large brush in this particular set. So obviously you're covering a lot more sort of larger areas, or especially if you're on creatures and stuff like that, or you want to go back over something in a block color. Name this time it's going to be black, so I can cover up that pane of painting that looks a little bit of black. Again, I'll thin this down. If it needs a couple of coats, it needs a couple of coats. Oh, if you want to go back in and cover any mistakes, namely just everything I just painted. I thinned this one down quite heavily. It's coming on more like a wash. You know, just brush up a bit more with a bit more paint than normal, just to see. Big thumbs in the way there. Apologies. Again, this is just to check how smooth these actually work, what the kind of coverage is like. And then they still sort of hold their points and stuff like that, and so they don't sort of like mass amount of loose hair on it and things like that. So yeah, that's covered up that lovely paint job that was on there. So it is. I'm gonna go paint him properly. With a larger one, yeah, it seems to have split quite a bit heavily on that one. Don't know what's happening there. Now that might be because I was using a lot more paint, maybe not thin as much. I was going quite heavy with it. So see what it's like when I clean it. Let's see if I can get it back into shape. I can actually see as soon as I basically just washed that paint off, it's just lovely. It's just really went back in shape here. Yeah. So yeah, combination of me just being a wee bit heavy with paint, maybe a lot more paint on it. As I say, I was putting a bit more on that just to see what it'd be like. So yeah, once it's washed out, it's come back into shape again. So overall, I'm quite happy. And that was just a little tester of the brushes on a figure, see how they would operate. I can get the other brush away. So yes, that is just basically a quite general kind of a small review on you actually using them and seeing how they actually work. I still like them. I know I have been watching a couple of reviews that people don't like them and stuff like that. I think it's down to the individual. If you're used to working with these particular types of the Kolinsky Sable brushes, they are nice. If you're not and you're wanting to upgrade your painting and stuff like that, my advice is go buy some. Preferably from Squidmar. This is because, yeah, get used to using them. They're quite nice. I just like the feel of them. There's sometimes when you're back, like I use a lot of cheap brushes for doing big bulky bits and stuff like that. as an example and stuff like that. Most of that's been painted with very large, just cheap old brushes, just to get in all the nooks and crannies and things like that. So the likes of that, that's fine. But when you're starting to come down into doing detail work, let me show this here as well. Yeah. When you're starting to come into finer work, like doing the highlights and flesh, unfortunately the light is quite bright in this bit. If we can get in the figures, there we go. You can kind of see the different highlights on the flesh as you're turning them and stuff like that, and the different highlights. If you're wanting really thin lines with that, yes, you can get really good thin synthetic brushes, but I'm sort of finding now that with a proper saddle brush, it's a lot better. It seems to work a lot better, and they just seem to hold their points so much better than synthetics. Hopefully that's been a bit more use to some people. If you do like the video, hit the like button. If you don't, hit the thumbs down. It's not a problem. Any comments, any questions, please do ask.